Today we're back looking at some more creepy missing people cases.
I'm not joking, I will never go on a cruise because of this story. In 1998, 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley decided to tag along on her family's trip on a cruise. The boat was called Rhapsody of the Seas, and it was one of those huge cruise ships, and it was supposed to sail through the Caribbean around Aruba and Curacao. Amy never came back from this cruise, and I know you might say, how could you go missing on a cruise ship? Well, she did, and there's a lot of shady stuff that happened before as well as after her disappearance.
Oh no.
So the night before she went missing, the family got dinner together, and then she and her brother went out dancing. This is a video filmed by the cruise, and Amy started dancing with a member of the cruise's band named Yellow. They were all having a lot of fun, and Amy and her mom wanted to get some of these photos that the cruise's hired photographer had been walking around and taking. But when they went to the photo pickup area, all the photos of Amy were already gone, like somebody had already purchased them. Amy was last seen around 6 a.m. when she told her dad that she was gonna go smoke a cigarette. Her dad reported her missing a few hours later. Now, one of the reasons I find cruises so creepy is that they don't really have any authority beyond the captain. There was no police that Amy's disappearance could be reported to. All they could do was ask the captain to make an announcement over the intercom, which he refused to do because it was too early in the morning. He did agree to do it a few hours later though, and they also asked him if he could avoid docking until they located Amy, because once they docked and let everybody off the ship, finding her would be so much harder. One really creepy fact is that Yellow, that band guy she was dancing with, walked up to her brother Brad and said, "Hey man, I'm sorry to hear about your sister," even though this hadn't been announced publicly yet. It was basically just known within Amy's family and then the captain that they had just spoken to. The ship did dock and people got out, and Amy's family found out that they actually hadn't searched the ship for her. They had only searched the common areas, and she could have easily been in somebody's room. Then there are the sightings. In August 1998, a man said that he saw Amy walking with two other men, but then they grabbed her when she tried to run towards him. Then in 2005, a woman came forward saying she was in a department store bathroom in Barbados when a woman and a man came in. The man yelled at the woman, and then he walked away and she walked out, and Amy Lynn Bradley was standing right there. She asked her name and she said it was Amy, but then the men came back in and grabbed her. A Navy officer also said that he was at a brothel in Curacao, and the woman he was with said that her name was Amy and that they wouldn't let her leave. Adding to this is the fact that this photo was found on an escort website for the Caribbean. She looks a lot like Amy. She has the same rosy cheekbones, the nose is similar, her lips are similar, as well as her chin. It's really possible that some of the employees on this cruise line were scouting Amy to be sold into a sex ring. Investigations that require multiple countries to participate are always difficult, and Amy's case is currently unsolved and she has not been located. I
mean, by the looks of it, I think we know what happened. Something went on there. I will never go on a cruise. See, I've always wanted to go on cruises because I think they're beautiful, like some of my friends go on them. But now I'm a bit scared. What happens if something like that happened to me or one of my friends? She was trafficked. That woman looks just like her. Exactly. I'll put it up right there. You're telling me that's not her? They eerily look very similar. When my wife and I went on our cruise, some dude kept following us and inviting us into his room. When we picked up our pics, some were gone. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I'm starting to think maybe she was trafficked. Whenever it comes to going missing on a cruise, either you get pushed off board, fall off board, you get murdered and they're hiding your body, or you get trafficked. And yet again with that picture, that was her. That was the woman. My aunt went missing on a cruise ship in the 70s. To this day, there is still zero traces or answered. That's just so weird. It's the fact someone can disappear and no one knows what happened to them. Obviously somebody does, including Amy. She knows what happened to her, and someone else knows, but we don't. And that's what makes it so eerie. I will always look out for her in the Caribbean. That was definitely her picture. I hope she finds her way home one day. I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think she needs to be saved. I'm so sorry. If I were that family member, I'd probably move to the Caribbean somewhere to try to figure out where she is. Oh, I just didn't like that. That video's really freaked me out.
Reports Kayla has been found.
This cute little girl was missing for 6 years.
Oh.
Now she's been found alive thanks to the Netflix show Unsolved Mysteries and a 1,000,000 to 1 chance encounter.
Thank you for watching this video. Have a great time.
Kayla Unbehan was abducted in 2017 by her mother, who lost a bitter custody battle. Now 15, she was spotted at this shopping mall in Asheville, North Carolina, when she walked into a Plato's Closet store, which buys and sells used teen clothes. In an extraordinary coincidence, a young woman who works in the store knew Kayla in her hometown 700 miles away in suburban Chicago years earlier, before she was abducted. She immediately recognized Kayla and asked her supervisor to call the police.
Oh, God.
There was some level of connection, personal connection there. Whether they were friends, acquaintances, I can't speak to that, but there was some connection there.
From back when they were kids?
Correct. Somewhere in their childhood.
That's absolutely unbelievable.
It is very much so. It's a very unique case. It's good to be good, but it's also good to be lucky.
Kayla's father, Ryan, has been tirelessly searching for his missing daughter all these years. The case was covered on several TV shows, including the Netflix reboot of the classic Unsolved Mysteries. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children created this age progression image of how Kayla looks today. Her father says, "I'm overjoyed that Kayla is home safe. We ask for privacy as we get to know each other again and navigate this new beginning." Police believe the runaway mom fled from South Elgin, Illinois to Athens, Georgia, then was traced to Atlanta, where the trail went cold until this amazing breakthrough. Kayla is said to be in good spirits, but at first she did not cooperate with cops.
She clearly had a rehearsed story that she gave the officers. She was in sync with her mother.
Kayla's mother has been charged with child abduction. She's currently free on $250,000.
Okay, well that's quite crazy. Like, I've watched quite a few of them Netflix documentaries about missing people, and it turns out one of them helped track down a child. The way the dad was saying Kayla was a victim of abuse and she was found safe with mum and in fact not abused. I'm not too sure about that bit, but at the end of the day the mother did run away with her. Like, that is abduction. She wasn't missing though, she was with her mum. No, but she was missing. She was reported missing, that's the whole point. Her mum basically ran away with her, which is abduction. If a parent runs away with a child, like, that's basically abduction. They disappeared or missing. So the dad never thought to check with the mum while she was missing for 6 years. I don't know if it's just me who's maybe not seeing it the way they're seeing it, but to me, I thought the mother disappeared with the daughter, like they ran away due to a custody battle. So like the mother disappeared with the daughter and the police were trying to track them, then came to a dead end. Is that not what happened? Maybe I interpreted that in the wrong way.
Missing son found alive in father's basement while he's doing live
Charlie,
interview.
we're getting reports that your son has been found in your basement.
Oh. Oh no. Why is he there?
Sir? Mr. Bothell, are you...
What?
Yeah, we are getting reports that your son has been found alive in your basement.
What?
Oh, he is so guilty.
If you could hand me that wire very quickly. Yeah, we're getting that right now. How could your son be alive in your basement?
He's done it.
I have no idea.
He's freaking out. He is freaking out.
Okay, this is what we are hearing. That the missing 12-year-old boy has been found alive and well in his father's basement. Now, this is what I don't understand why you guys would have reported he's missing.
Okay.
And you're telling us that you searched your basement and your wife searched your basement.
Obviously not.
I searched my basement. My wife searched my basement. The FBI searched my basement. The Detroit police searched my basement. We've all searched my basement multiple times.
So we're sending news crews right now to the scene. We're also understanding that the police chief is going to make yet another announcement that should be coming up a little bit later on. But yes, the boy has been found alive in his father's basement.
Something about that is very, very fishy. Was that maybe one of them missing scams where someone goes missing, obviously a reward is put forward, and then that person magically turns up and the parents claim the reward? That was a bit weird. Charlie, your son has been found. Can I finish the interview, please? His reaction was a bit fishy, wasn't it? Like, if it was actually the parent of a missing child, I'm telling you right now, ready to be out of that studio in a second. He basically sat there and was like, no, like a wee bit flustered. That was just plain acting to me. He didn't even ask if he was okay. That's because he knew he was okay. He knew he was in the basement. And yet again, apparently he searched the basement, his wife searched the basement, the police, the FBI, the dogs. Either that's a straight up lie or they done a really bad search. Her face the whole time, I know it's because she knew it. She was probably processing it in her mind, like she's thinking, oh my god, this child's missing, and then he's found alive in the dad's basement. Like that just doesn't happen. I can't believe the father only got 18 months probation, so yeah, it looks like he was charged in the end. That child needs to be taken away from that mother and father immediately. I don't know if the mother had anything to do with it. For all we know, she could have been completely innocent and didn't know anything. However, what I'm also thinking about is maybe they were doing like one of them scams where somebody disappears and then a monetary reward is put up by the police and then magically they're found like a few days later. Either way, that whole reaction just reeked of corruption. He knew what was going on.
The missing Louis Vuitton girl is one of South Korea's most top unsolved cases. This is Chung Nutty, who was only 21 years old back in 2005 when she went missing. She went out drinking for a night with her friends. Her friends dropped her off at her apartment, but she started crying, saying that she did not want to go home. She seemed pretty drunk, and her neighbors remember her being so loud that they were all woken up. Nutty's friend dropped her off inside of her apartment, room 201, and remembered that she had a new boyfriend that she was living with, and he was there topless, sleeping. When the friend left, it was about 4:30 a.m. and they all worked at the same cafe, and the next morning, Nutty didn't show up. The friends got worried, went to her apartment, and the neighbor came out saying that there was a loud fight last night, and they believed that it came from the room that she was living in. The neighbors reported the man cursing, woman crying, banging on the walls for 2 hours, but nobody seemed to call the police. Fast forward, Nutty was never to be found in her room. The room was cleaned up nicely by the boyfriend. And the boyfriend claims that he woke up at 11 a.m. not knowing what happened to her and just decided to break up with her. This is Kim, the boyfriend that she's been only living with 2 weeks. Kim's friend remembered that night differently. His friends claimed that they got a call from Kim at 6 a.m. in the morning claiming that he wanted to go for a drive. He also called the friends with 2 different phone numbers. The forensics team did a luminol test and found 3 tiny 1mm blood spatter, 2 being from Nutty and 1 from his shoe, being a mix of his blood and Nutty's blood. But it was so small that in the appeal courts, they found that this was not enough evidence to charge him. The boyfriend eventually was found not guilty for lack of evidence, but a new potential witness came forward 15 years later. The lady claimed that she was living only about 10 minutes away from Nutty's house. And in 2005, the same year she went missing, she just found a random Louis Vuitton bag that was outside that she found at around 6 a.m. She thought that the bag was fake and someone just threw it out. There was no ID, nothing in there except some makeup. When she saw the TV, the news about Nutty, she thought that maybe this bag was related to her. Because in the missing poster, it says that Nutty was missing last seen with her Louis Vuitton bag, but nobody remembers what her bag actually looked like because it was such a long time ago. Is it a coincidence that someone found a real Louis Vuitton bag in the same year around the same time that she went missing? It's been 18 years now and her body was never found. She still remains as a missing person. Did she step out on her own and got kidnapped after that? Or did the boyfriend potentially get away? There's a lot more detail to this that I did on my YouTube.
To me, it's quite obvious that the boyfriend might have had something to do with it, but there's not enough evidence to prosecute him. Yet again, can we talk about the whole thing where people come forward 15 years later? That pisses me off so much. There's so many cases where, you know, something happens, they ask for witnesses, no witnesses come forward, and then 15 years later, someone's like, oh, I think I know something, you know, I remember this happening. And it's like, why didn't you come forward 15 years ago when everyone was talking about the case? I just can't stand stuff like that. Why is this unsolved? It's unsolved because they've never found a body, no one's ever been charged. Everyone probably knows in their head what happened, but they've got no proof of it, like the body's never been found. Bro, even if the blood splatter is small, it's still her blood. Like, be so for real, why would the BF have her blood in him at all? He done it. I mean, yeah, exactly, I'm with you. Why wouldn't they use that as evidence? If their blood was found mixed together, what are they gonna be doing to draw blood? Nothing, because he killed her. We all know the boyfriend did it and she's definitely dead. Cops did a poor job investigating this case, and that's what irritates me. It's the fact that he basically walks away and he knows he's done it. He knows in his head that he murdered her. The body was never found, it probably will never be found. That's the irritating thing. You know, her family are never gonna get justice, and the boyfriend just got away with it. Okay, so this next video is a 2-parter, and guess what it's about? Somebody going missing in a cruise.
Did you know that since the year 2000, about 400 people have gone missing
400?
on cruise ships? Only 10% of them are ever solved, and only 15 to 20% of them are ever reported on.
Ooh.
Rebecca Coriam is one of those people. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Rebecca was 24 years old and from Chester, England. Rebecca was described as fun-loving, happy-go-lucky, just an all-around bright and bubbly person, and in order to work at Disney, you kind of have to be that person. She was hired to work on the cruise ship, the Disney Wonder, and she was going to work with children. In March of 2011, she was on her way from Los Angeles to Mexico on the Disney Wonder. On March 22nd of 2011, at about 5:45 in the morning, Rebecca is seen on CCTV footage wearing men's clothing, and she looks visibly distressed.
Ooh.
She was in the crew lounge, and she was talking on the internal phone line. After Rebecca hung up the phone, she is never seen or heard from again. She simply vanished into thin air. When Rebecca didn't show up to her 9 a.m. shift, it was reported and people did start looking for her. The United States Coast Guard and the Navy were also sent out to look for her, but no one could find her anywhere. Eventually, the captain of the Disney Wonder decided that Rebecca had simply been taken up by a rogue wave and washed out to sea. But this case is a whole lot stranger, and the story doesn't really make sense. Rebecca's family soon got involved, and they noticed some strange things that happened with the investigation into Rebecca's disappearance. Standard operating procedure would dictate that the ship needed to be turned around so that they could search for Rebecca, but that never happened. Under the flag of convenience system, jurisdiction would fall to wherever the boat was registered to, and that happened to be the Bahamas. And apparently a lot of cruise ships do this because of taxes. It was 3 days after Rebecca disappeared that Disney contacted the Royal Bahamas Police Force to conduct an investigation into her disappearance. The Royal Bahamas Police Force sent one investigator to search for Rebecca. He was flown by private jet to Los Angeles to search, and during his investigation, he interviewed 6 of the 950 employees and none of the 2,000 passengers that were on board at the time of Rebecca's disappearance.
Sounds like a cover-up.
We'll get into more in part 2, and it'll be up as soon as I'm done filming, so give me a couple of minutes and it'll be up.
Okay, so we're about to watch part 2. However, to me that sounds like a cover-up. She was seen in CCTV at 5 a.m. wearing men's clothes looking distraught. In my head, there's only one reason as to why she would be like that: if a man has done something to her. And then it's the fact that the captain was like, oh, maybe a rogue wave took her overboard. I don't think that's the truth. Either someone intentionally jumps off or they're thrown off. Something about that's just very, very fishy. They have a whole show about that called Cruise Ship Killer. I mean, put it this way, it'd be very, very easy to be a serial killer on a cruise ship. All you have to do is throw the bodies overboard. They definitely go overboard, but the question is how. I mean, I'm thinking something's definitely happened between her and somebody else, and the only way of them silencing her is to throw her overboard. People don't just vanish into thin air, exactly, and the only person who knows what happened to her is the person who done it and her herself. It's just freaky. It's the fact that happened as well. Ugh.
So here is part 2 to the Disney cruise ship disappearance. Disney took their time getting in touch with Rebecca's family, but when they finally did, they flew them to Los Angeles so they could see the cruise ship themselves. According to Rebecca's family, everything was staged by Disney. They were taken in a car with blacked out windows. They were taken into the boat's back entrance as the passengers disembarked from the front. They then took them into a room and played the CCTV footage of Rebecca on the phone. The captain explained to the family that Rebecca was swept off of the ship by a rogue wave.
She was
on
not.
Deck 5.
No.
They were taken to deck 5, and that's when they immediately realized that the deck was guarded by 6-foot walls. So that means that the rogue wave would have had to have been at least 100 feet tall in order to sweep Rebecca off the deck. They were then taken to Rebecca's cabin, where they were shown a flip-flop that was found on deck 5, and that's what proved that she was swept off the deck by a wave. But her family said that this flip-flop was not the size that Rebecca wore, and it wasn't her style either. It wasn't something she would have normally bought. The very next day, the Disney Wonder was off on another cruise, only after a couple of days of investigating. They put out some flowers on deck 5 to show sympathy towards Rebecca, but then they considered the matter closed. Rebecca's family hired a private investigator, and they were able to find that the CCTV footage that they were shown was actually cropped and wasn't taken on deck 5, but it was actually taken on deck 1. When any of the crew members talked about it, they didn't say much because basically Disney wouldn't let them, or at least that's what they implied. There was some talk that Rebecca was seeing a girl on the cruise ship and that they were having some troubles because this girl she was seeing was also seeing a man, and Rebecca was struggling with that. So some people implied that maybe Rebecca had jumped, but her family insists that Rebecca would not do that. That was not like her at all, and I think her family would know her best. And in 2016, an investigator found a pair of ripped shorts in Rebecca's personal effects, which leads some people to believe that she might have been essayed or attacked while she was on the boat, and this was simply a way to cover it up.
That's what I think.
Her family also found that in the months after her disappearance, there was activity in her bank account and also a Facebook password change. But as far as what happened to Rebecca is still unknown, and I think this investigation was botched from the beginning, and Disney is desperate to keep their image as the happiest place on earth, so they cannot help with the investigation. But what are your thoughts on this case?
I think we all know what actually happened to her. Something bad's happened, she's went to go to tell somebody and they've tried to silence her. It's the fact there was activity on her Facebook. First of all, who is doing that? Because it wasn't the family, and I don't think it would have been Rebecca. I think she was trafficked because I've heard of similar cases of women just going missing on cruise ships and it gets covered up. I mean, yeah, that could be true, because remember that woman in the first video? It's either that or someone's done something to her. And yet again, if we talk about the CCTV, they claim she fell overboard on like floor 5, but she was seen on floor 1. Like, it doesn't make any sense. These disappearances make me never want to go on a cruise. This happens far too often. I mean, how many people have went missing on cruises since 2000? I think 400. That's a lot of people. And yet again, whenever it comes to disappearances, you never think it's going to happen to you, but it could be. You could be the next person to disappear. Activity in her bank account, that's a massive red flag. And the Facebook, quite clearly something is going on, and her family deserve answers. They deserve to get a full investigation. When does the NDA expire so the crew can spill the tea? I mean, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think the way them NDAs are is like they can't ever talk about it. And yet again, if they knew something, why would they come forward after the NDA expires? Like, if they knew it at that time, they should have told the police. I don't know. Yet again, something about that's just fishy. Like, something else has went on. Well, anyways, guys, let's leave that video there. That's some creepy missing people cases. It would seem like a more creepy TikTok, so let me definitely will. First, subscribe and see you all tomorrow for another video.